start?
Okay, we can start now.
A very good morning, everyone. Myself, Kritika Goyal, and I welcome you all on the behalf of young Indian Theosophists. Today's session is on Chapter 10, The Wings of the Soul, from the book Trust Yourself to Life by Clara M. Codd. So let us sit in meditation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is therefore one with every other. Come back, everyone. Thank you for joining me. So, our speaker for the day is Brother Pradeep, who will talk about the chapter 10, The Wings of the Soul, from the book Trust Yourself to Life by Clara M. Codd. Brother Pradeep is a master's in biotechnology, working as a business manager for an organic products company, and he is also a professional consultant for hydroponics. He is a third generation theosophist. He was introduced to theosophy naturally since childhood. He became an active member since 2002 and has been giving various lectures at various theosophical lodges in Karnataka. So let us all welcome Brother Pradeep. Over to you, Brother Pradeep.
A very good morning to everyone. Thank you, Kritika, for your warm welcome words. It's a wonderful morning, and let us start our reading. So, we have been doing this reading of the book Trust Yourself to Life, and written by Clara M. Codd. Today, we are doing chapter 10, The Wings of the Soul. So, we are all very accustomed to the word Wings of Fire, the book written by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. But today we are going to see Wings of the Soul, the Wings of the Soul. Let's understand what exactly the author is trying to say here. Before we go to understanding the wings of the soul, first let us go back to the definition of man. The definition of man, as given by St. Paul, man is body, soul, and spirit. So, what is man? When we go back to our previous chapter, as defined by St. Paul, man is not just his body, or he is not just his soul. His body, soul, and spirit. So, we know what is body. Body is this physical body. Body is the house we live. So if body is the house we live, when we say we live in the house, then who lives in this body? Who lives in this house? And soul is that self which can think and feel. So all the thoughts and feelings put together is the soul. But is it only the soul who lives in this body? No. And spirit is nothing but it is a spark of the eternal divine flame, which has never left the source from which it comes. His body and soul are just something of himself that he puts down here. When we reach a certain level of development, we can awaken the consciousness of that eternal one in us. So it means body is a house in which not only the soul, but a part of a spark of that eternal divine flame lives in this body. So to understand, as the spark is basically a fundamental unit of that universal eternal flame. So one part of that eternal flame or divine flame is residing in everybody. So that one spark has its own soul and which resides in this body. That is the meaning of what Saint Paul's is trying to say here. So if we understand every soul has a spirit in it, and that spirit is part of that divine eternal flame. It's a basic unit. So to go more deep into this subject, so what is a fundamental unit? Let us take an example of our own skin. So skin covers this entire body, this physical body. Skin can be considered as an organ, just like we consider heart, lungs, kidneys as organs. Skin is an organ. So the entire body is covered with this one single organ, which is called skin. Now, skin, what is skin made up of? Skin is basically made up of individual skin cells. So all these individual single skin cells put together forms an entire organ called as skin. Now, whatever is the characteristic of this individual skin cell is the characteristic of the entire skin. A skin cell performs or should perform every action and function that can be seen or that resembles in the entire organ that is the skin. So one skin cell is the fundamental unit of an organ which we call as skin, which is visible. So in the same way, a spark is one fundamental unit of that universal eternal uh, divine flame or universal eternal consciousness. So whatever is the function of that universal consciousness or the divine flame is represented by this individual flame or the individual spark, which we may also call as individual consciousness. So an individual consciousness will have all the qualities and represent all the functions of that universal consciousness. So this individuality or the individual consciousness is housed in every soul, which is in turn lives in this physical body. So when we reach a certain level of development, we can awaken the consciousness of that eternal one in us. So as I said, the spark of the eternal flame or the divine flame, which is a basic unit, is present in everybody. And it has its own consciousness, and we call it individual consciousness. And that consciousness of this flame or the eternal spark, which is present in us, can be awakened. How to awaken this consciousness? So when we reach a certain development, certain stage of development, we can awaken the consciousness of this eternal flame which is within us and become one with Him. So when we awaken the consciousness of this individual spirit in everybody, then that becomes one with the universal consciousness from which it has come down. So that spirit, that individual consciousness is the one which possesses a soul and which in turn possesses a physical body. Now, how to awaken this individual consciousness? How to awaken this individual eternal spark that is present in us? How is that done? There are three ways. One, by aspiration. Two, by prayer, which is rightly understood. And three, by self-realization. So what is aspiration? Aspiration is to seek. We need to aspire to awaken that consciousness that of the spirit within us. We need to seek for that. Once we seek, once we try to find it within us, and that is one way of awakening the consciousness of individual spirit. The other is by prayer, and we pray, and the prayer should be rightly understood. So not only a deliberate attempt to seek for this consciousness, but a really well understood prayer will also help us to awaken that individual consciousness. And the third is self-realization. What is self-realization? The self-realization is that he can be reached and is our true self. He is the source of all wisdom, love, and power in us, and also of everlasting bliss. So who is he here? The author is trying to say he means it is that eternal spirit which is present in every one of us. And we need to reach this self-realization that he can be reached. And he is our true self. Our true self is not this body, the soul, or our feelings or thoughts, but our true self is that eternal spirit which is present in us, which is a part of the universal spirit or the universal consciousness. And once we realize this, and we will know that that spirit is the source of wisdom, love, and power in us. So that these are the three faculties that we get, that we derive from that eternal spirit which is within us. The three basic faculties are wisdom, love, and power. To perform any action, to do any uh, function in this living world, we either use our wisdom or love and power. So these three faculties are derived from that eternal source or the eternal spirit, a part of that eternal spirit which is within us. So once we reach this realization that it is within us and that is our true self, and then it is the source of everlasting bliss. So the unending happiness, the everlasting happiness is derived from this eternal spirit within us. For as the Christ told us, the kingdom of heaven is within us. So here the author is quoting Christ that the kingdom of heaven is within us. So you may call it with any name. You can call it as the kingdom of heaven or the eternal spirit that is within us. And we need to reach this realization that it is within us and that is our true self. So that is the third way of awakening the consciousness. Now, what is the spiritual consciousness? What is the consciousness of this eternal spirit which is within us? It is not being pious or nor is it being psychic. Mrs. Besant defined it as the intuitive perception of the unity of all life. So Mrs. Besant, she defines that the eternal consciousness is nothing but a perception of unity of all life. So as I explained, going back to my example, that a skin cell is basically a fundamental unit of an entire organ called skin. So a skin cell is a part of it, is a fundamental unit which represents the skin. So millions of such similar skin cells form the entire organ called skin. So once we understand that this eternal spark within us is a fundamental unit of that universal consciousness or the universal spirit, then we feel every other individual spirit as equal. So once we realize that unity of all life, realize the unity of every eternal spirit present in every form of in this living world, so that realization and the perception itself is the consciousness of that eternal spirit within us. HPB tells us not to seek happiness here. She says happiness is not to be gained on earth. Here we have the dark entrance hall alone, and only on opening the door into the real living place, into the reception room of life, shall we see the light. Whether in heaven, in nirvana, in swarga, is all the same. The name does not matter. But as to the divine principle, it is one. And there is only one light, however, differently it may be understood by various earthly darkness. Let us wait patiently for the day of our real, our best birth. So here, Madame Blavatsky put it in a different perception, where what she means that we should not look for happiness in this physical world. Here means in this physical world. We should not look for the happiness in these physical world or in these lower bodies or the lower faculties. But the true happiness is derived from that eternal spirit which is within us. So she compares this as a dark living room or just a dark hall, this physical body or these lower selves as just a dark self or the dark place. And that eternal spirit which is within us as a door, when it opens, we shall go towards the light. So the real happiness should come, or we should seek the real happiness from this eternal spirit which is within us. And she even used these words, heaven, nirvana, swarga, and says they're all same. You may call it in any name. The place of this eternal spirit within us can be called with any name. It doesn't matter. But that is the only source of light within us. And that is the only source of real happiness within us. And we need to seek for this happiness. So here, Madame Blavatsky is trying to emphasize the method of aspiration to seek. And once we seek for this happiness, that is the real happiness within us, which is derived from the eternal source or the eternal spirit within us. And that is called seeking, to seek and to aspire. As the author mentioned in the beginning, we either aspire, we pray, or we realize. So these are the three ways of awakening that eternal consciousness within us. And here, Madame Blavatsky is emphasizing on the method of seeking. So we need to seek for that happiness. We need to look for that happiness as if we are put in a dark room and we are searching for light. And that door of light will open when we seek for it. And in this process of seeking, we need to wait patiently for the day of our best birth. So she even compare this finding of this eternal spirit as our rebirth, as the real birth. And we need to be patient until we find it. but not stop, but be patient for while finding it. So coming back to now, what are the wings of this soul? Man has two wings by which he may fly to heaven. So going back to the explanation of Madam Blavatsky, where she calls it heaven, swarga, uh, uh, with any other name. So this is the place where we feel one with the eternal spirit within us, where the eternal consciousness is awakened. And that stage itself is called heaven. So let us now keep the meaning of this word heaven as an awakened eternal consciousness within us. So now if a man has to reach to that stage, if one has to reach, the author mentioned in the beginning, so once we reach a stage of development, this eternal consciousness is awakened, and then we become one with the universal consciousness or the universal eternal divine flame. But how do we reach to that place? And to reach to that place, or to reach to that stage, or to realize that eternal consciousness within us, to awaken the individual consciousness within us, so man has two wings, its mind and his heart, by which he can fly into this heaven, by which he can fly into this state. But they are like the wings of a bird confined in a cage. It may long and hope, but cannot fly, and has ceased to sing. So we must break the bars of the cage of our egotism, our personal desires and ambitions, one by one, and teach him to fly. So the author says that what helps man to reach to that state of eternal consciousness, or the awakened state of eternal consciousness within us, in simple terms, we can call it as heaven. So it is the two wings that can help him to fly. One is his mind, and the other is his heart. Speaking in theosophical terms, we use mind as one part of our higher bodies, but we don't use the word heart. But heart is basically nothing but it's our feelings put together. All our feelings comes from this, the Kama Sharira, what Madam Anivescent explains in her book. So our feelings, our emotions put together, we can relate it to our heart. So, and our mind, our thoughts, our knowledge, our power, the thought power, thinking, everything comes from mind. So if we take these thoughts and emotions as two different wings of man, and they can take this man to that eternal, to that state of awakened eternal consciousness. But the bird is put in the cage. No matter the wings are functioning, but the bird is in the cage. No matter how many times the bird flutters the wings, but it can't fly because it is put in a cage. So we must break the bars of the cage. So once the bars of this cage are broken, only then the bird can come out and use the wings to fly. Now, what are those bars of the cage that the man, even though he has these two wings, so what are those that are confining him to a cage? Are the egotism, the personal desires, and ambitions. So these personal desires, ambitions, and egotism, which belong to the physical world, which have something to do with only the physical world, and these are the bars of the cage that has confined man into this physical world. So the cage can be considered as the physical world here. So only when these obstacles or the bars of the cage are broken one by one, it's not, it doesn't happen suddenly. It doesn't happen in a fraction of a second, but one by one, we need to remove these bars of the cage, the egoism, personal desires, and ambitions. Once we remove them and teach him to fly, and then we teach the man. Here, man means the soul or the body and soul put together. Once we teach him to fly, to use his mind and his heart, that is, his thoughts and his emotions, then he can fly to that heaven or to that state of awakened eternal consciousness. He can fly when the wings of his mind, when the wing of his mind is filled with beautiful and true thoughts and conception. And the wing of his heart is full of pure, ardent, selfless feelings. So these two wings can be used to fly only when the wing of mind, that's one of the wing, is filled with beautiful and true thoughts and conception. So it is mind where we derive our thoughts and our conceptions. So only when it is filled with beautiful and pure thoughts and conception, that wing performs or can be functioned. And when the wing of heart is full of pure, ardent, selfless feeling, when the wing of heart is filled with pure and selfless feelings, only then that wing performs. So when these two wings, a bird cannot, it's very difficult to fly with a single wing, right? So when both the wings has to function, then the wing of mind should be filled with pure thoughts and the wing of heart should be filled with selfless feeling. Only then a man can fly to this eternal heaven. Have you ever watched a little lark fly up? So, little lark is a kind of bird which can fly to a greater heights. In Hindi, it's called as Aruni Pakshi. Uh, in India also we find these Indian bush larks, and they fly to a very greater heights, and they sing beautifully, and their song is the most melodious song among all the birds. Have you ever watched a little lark fly up? He can fly higher than almost any other bird, pouring his little heart out in song. And if you can still discern him, you will find that when he gets very high, he rests his wings upon the air. So, should our souls fly even higher and higher until they reach that silence in heaven, which means that his wings steady and become still, the first of the mystic state. So, if you watch this bird, the little lark, it can fly to greater heights. It keeps flying, it keeps fluttering its wings until it reaches a particular height. It can fly above any bird. And then once it reaches to a certain height, it doesn't flutter its wings anymore. It doesn't flap its wings anymore. It just keeps its wings in a steady position. And then that makes the bird to just float in the air without even using the wings. So we need to fly to such a height. We need to use these wings, that is the mind and heart, and then to reach to certain state where the eternal spirit within us is awakened, and then we don't have to use these wings anymore. We can just keep floating in this state, and this is the first mystic state. This is the first uh, sign that we have reached at that particular state. This is the real meaning of prayer. So the real meaning of prayer is also to reach to that state using these wings of the soul, both the mind and heart, to cure the thoughts, to clear the thoughts, or to clean our thoughts, and to have selfless feelings in the heart. So that is the real meaning of prayer. So even uh, so far, the author was talking about the method of seeking to aspire. So the author also tells that the real meaning of prayer also is to help these wings to come out of their restrictions. The lifting of the heart to life. and life flows down and fills the little human heart with joy and beauty, which radiates for the happiness of all who surround him. And notice one more thing about the little bird. His head is always lifted upwards, towards where he is flying. This is the symbol of the human will, the intention which steadily points upwards. So here, the author goes back to the same example of the bird. When it is flying upwards, the head of this bird is always held high, is lifted upwards. So that symbolizes the will. That should be the human will. That when we are seeking to this happiness, when we are seeking to this, to reach this state, our will should be so strong that we always held our head in, into towards the direction of where we are going. Seek with the mind by lovely thoughts and ideas. Saint Paul told his people this. So again, coming back to, to the same method of seeking, to seek or to aspire, the author gives the example of what, or the author quotes Saint Paul that what he told to his people. So this is a quote by Saint Paul. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think of these things. So Saint Paul said to his people that no matter what's happening, you may complain a lot of many things in this physical world, but whatever is happening, things are honest, things are just, things are pure, and things are lovely. So only when we realize this, so here the author is talking about a self-realization. So only when we realize that everything that surrounding us is true, honest, is just and pure, no matter what's happening, irrespective of what's happening, irrespective of our own personal relationship with these things surrounding us, only when we realize that all these things are pure, just and lovely and are true, only then we can realize the real virtue. And if there is any praise, so if someone praises that something is very beautiful, and then you need to realize this that whatsoever things are beautiful, so whatsoever things are lovely. So this is the self-realization that St. Paul is talking about. And the author quotes this to emphasize the fact that only when we realize this, uh, we can try to reach to that state of eternal spirit. For what man think in his heart, so is he, and so does he become. And to seek is always to find. Why the author is giving this example? Because what a man think in his heart, so is he, and so does he become. So whatever thoughts that we get in our mind, or whatever feeling that we form in our heart, man becomes those feelings or those thoughts. Man becomes uh, whatever he's thinking or whatever he's feeling. So, and hence we need to think always that no matter what, everything is good and beautiful and lovely. And ask with the heart, with all our hearts, by ardent aspiration and longing, and it will surely be given to us. So we need to seek or ask within ourselves. We need to ask our own heart, to ask with the heart, with all our hearts. So it's a little difficult to understand this. So we need to ask our heart with full of heart. That is the ultimate state of seeking or aspiration. And by this ardent aspiration and longing, it will surely be given to us. With this ardent and selfless aspiration, we can reach to that state. And lastly, knock at the door and it will open unto us. So we need to knock this door. What is the door? Going back to Madam Blavatsky's explanation, this door of eternal light should open or opens. Only then we reach the source of real happiness of the eternal spirit. So we need to knock this door. It doesn't open by itself. So we need to knock it. So to knock means to seek, to aspire. We should have this human will that we need to seek for this. We need to look for this. So to knock means to aspire. This is done by action, which blesses and helps all other lives. So how does this door open, sir? It opens by our actions. So what is this process of knocking? To seek. It's nothing but action which blesses and helps all other lives. So our actions should be in such a way that it bless and it can help every life or all other lives surrounding us. So that action itself is nothing but knocking the door for this eternal happiness. Perhaps I cannot do better than quote the famous prayer of Saint Francis, the most loved of all the Christian saints. So here, in the end, the author quotes the famous prayer of Saint Francis. So I will read out this prayer. So here, the author is talking again about praying. After she speaks a lot about to seek or to aspire, now in the end, she speaks a little bit about prayer. How powerful is the prayer? And I will read out this prayer and then we will close this session. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where, where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Thus, by love, we reach the heart of love itself. I think we all know the meaning of this prayer. So it's a very simple prayer. It's very easy to understand. So just going by word in this prayer. So we need to pray to Lord that to make us an instrument of His peace. To become an instrument of His peace means to spread that peace to every other individuals on this earth. And to become an instrument means wherever there is hatred, we need to be an instrument to sow the love. And wherever there is injury, we need to sow pardon. We need to pardon the one who has caused the injury. And where there is doubt, we need to be an instrument to sow the faith. And where there is despair, where there is no hope, where there are people who are in despair, we need to sow hope or give hope to these people. And where there's darkness, we need to try to bring the light. So where there is darkness in the sense, it can be lack of knowledge or any other uh, thing. So we need to be that light. And where there is sadness, we need to try to bring joy. And Divine Master or the Lord, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. So, in this prayer, in the second of this prayer, it is also been emphasized that uh, it is in the giving that we receive. It's not only in receiving. We should not only be thinking about the receiving part of what we need, but it is in giving the same to others that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. Only we pardon others that we can be pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So, what is this dying? The dying is nothing but what the author was quoting all other famous people in the beginning, that uh, these bars of the cage has to be removed one by one. So that is the process of dying. Only then, according to Madam Blavatsky, that we will have a real birth, or the door of this eternal spirit opens to us. And these wings of our soul, that is the mind and heart, are the one which can take us to that state. And that is the true, the real birth. Thus, by love, we reach the heart of love itself. So, through love, we reach the heart of love. So here again, we can define this eternal spirit as the heart of love. So, it's the core of love. So, with love, we can reach this core of love. So, that is what the author tries to explain in this prayer in the end. It's a very small chapter, and even though we have gone word by word, have a lot of time for discussions, um, I'll open the session for discussion. Kritika?
Thank you so much, Brother Pradeep. Your session just enlightened the mood and the thought process. Like, it is so beautifully said that we are like a bird with two wings. Wow. Just a few time back, I was reading, there is a sociological thinker, Emile Durkheim, who was talking about individual consciousness and collective consciousness. So you also made my concept clearer. So thank you so much. And generally, we are always asked that, where do you operate from? Like, there are people around us who ask us, where do you operate from? Is it the mind or is it the heart? But now the concept is clear that we need both the wings to fly. Otherwise, we'll be like a disabled bird with one side heavier. So we should, if we are given two wings, then we should exercise and operate both the wings. This is what I got. So I think without taking any more time, I should open the forum for question, answers, and suggestions. I would like to invite Vasuvati ma'am. Is she there?
The video is not on.
Okay, if she's not there, so I think Feroz and Zinu Masterji, if you can share something.
Zinu Masterji, are you there?
Okay, I can see Brother Shikhar, so why not start from him?
Okay, no, nothing. Thank you so much, Kritika and Pradeepji, for wonderful explanation of this symbolism of the wings of the soul. Yeah, rightly also Kritika said that heart and mind are the two wings of the soul, and both of them have to be in harmony and unison to actually work passionately for anything, not just spirituality. I mean, even if you are working for a career, or you want to do some other project, or in any dimension, spiritual, material, worldly, or inner, heart. And that's why they said, wholeheartedly, which means wholeheartedly means it includes the mind. So if a person can think with the heart and feel from the mind, then there is no better combination than that. Because I think from sometimes when we are inwardly uh, fragmented, like our heart says something, mind says something else, then with that half-hearted attitude, whatever we do may not lead to success. Success, I mean, whatever we mean by that, the successful completion of the project. So in this case, if we want to reach to the spiritual consciousness, so we need to have our heart and mind thinking along the similar lines. And it is said actually that normally in the present humanity, the mind is overtaking the heart, because we are more intellectual. And that's why in the whole world we see so much of selfishness, apathy, and lack of sensitivity to others' pain. So, but when we can somehow change this polarity, that heart overtakes the mind, heart can affect the mind, which all of us experience at some moment of our life, then I think we make the right decisions, which are holistic, which are good for everyone, not just for us, but for our surroundings, environment, others, and everyone. So that was a real nice presentation. Thank you, Pradeep, and a wonderful prayer at the end. Thank you.
Thanks to Brother Shikhar. Brother Shikhar, thanks for giving this opportunity to youngsters to spread theosophy. Okay.
Zulu Master is there. So,
Yes. From Blavatsky Lodge, Mumbai.
Sir, would you like to share something?
Not now.
Okay. The person who always okay, is Vasumati here.
Namaste to everyone. And पूरा क्लारा कॉट का विंग्स ऑफ सोल जो सुना, और ब्रदर प्रदीप ने इतने अच्छे से उसको सरल ढंग से समझाया कि वो बिल्कुल दिल में बैठ गया. तो इतना अच्छा एक्सप्लेनेशन के लिए मैं उन्हें कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करना चाहती हूँ. और साथ ही हार्ट एंड माइंड जो बात में भी शिखर जी ने ऐड किया उसमें, कि किस तरह हार्ट माइंड को ग्रिप में ले लेता है. तो मुझे भगवत गीता में जो भगवान कृष्ण ने एक कहा है श्लोक कि जो एक इंद्रिय भी जो है वो माइंड के साथ अगर संयुक्त हो जाती है तो वो नाव को ऐसे बहा ले जाती है तूफान में कि तो 5 इंद्रियों का तो कहना ही क्या है. हालांकि ये इससे जस्ट मैच नहीं कर रहा, यहाँ इंद्रियों की बात कही गई है, लेकिन वहाँ हार्ट भी काम करता है, क्योंकि हार्ट ही तो एकदम से ग्रिप में लेता है. तो ये एक बड़ी प्रैक्टिकल चीज भी सामने आई, जिसे हमें कंटिन्यूअस ऑब्जर्व करते रहना है. और थैंक यू ब्रदर प्रदीप जी, बहुत अच्छा एक्सप्लेन किया आपने. सो नाइस ऑफ.
Thank you, Asmati ji. It's always nice to listen to your appreciations. Elders like you should always keep blessing us that we do more such readings and lectures. Thank you.
Taral sir, if you are here, so I just wait for Taral sir's suggestions always.
No, there is no suggestion from my side. प्रदीप,
मैंने सोचा तरल जी शायद कुछ नया शायरी लिख रहे हैं.
हाँ, नहीं, शायरी तो होती नहीं है, वो विचारों का एक संकलन होता है. जैसे शिखर जी ने कहा कि मन और दिल की जब जुगलबंदी हो जाती है शायद, तो आपकी उड़ान बहुत सही होती है. तो वैसे ही शायद शब्द जब अपनी खुद की रचना करते हैं तो वो एक अपनी आप में एक उड़ान ही होती है जो हमारे मन को एक स्थिति से दूसरी स्थिति में ले जाती है। तो सुबह सुबह पता नहीं सही या गलत, लेकिन 4 लाइनें सुना देता हूँ। तन हमारा घर है, जीवन हमारा विद्यालय। तन हमारा घर है, जीवन हमारा विद्यालय। आत्मा एक सोच, मन एक भावना है। आत्मा एक सोच, मन एक भावना है। अनंत है, अमर है। मनुष्य की आत्मा एक पक्षी स्वर्ग की यात्रा पर मन और दिल के पंखों से भरती है उड़ान। मनुष्य की आत्मा एक पक्षी स्वर्ग की यात्रा पर मन और दिल के पंखों से भरती है उड़ान। केवल पवित्र पंखों से संभव है ये सुखमय उड़ान। केवल पवित्र पंखों से संभव है ये सुखमय उड़ान। कैद हमारे पंखों को करना पड़ेगा आजाद। कैद हमारे पंखों को करना पड़ेगा आजाद। अहंकार, इच्छाओं, महत्वाकांक्षाओं के इस बनाए हमारे पिंजरे से। कैद हमारे पंखों को करना पड़ेगा आजाद। अहंकार, इच्छाओं, महत्वाकांक्षा के हमारे बनाए पिंजरे से। मुक्त तब मन हो मुक्त, पवित्र हो विचार स्वार्थ से। तब होती है ये आनंद में उड़ान एक भारद्वाज पक्षी की तरह।
थैंक यू सो मच तरल जी।
सर 4 अंतिम लाइनें। जितनी ऊंची होगी ये उड़ान, मन और दिल के पंखों को फैलाए। जितनी ऊंची होगी ये उड़ान, मन और दिल के पंखों को फैलाए। छू लोगे तुम वो ऊंची अनंत स्वर्ग की शांति और रहस्यमयता। छू लोगे तुम वो ऊंची छू लोगे तुम और महसूस करोगे वो अनंत स्वर्ग की शांति और रहस्यमयता। मन और दिल की संगीतमय जुगलबंदी से। मन और दिल की संगीतमय जुगलबंदी से मधुर स्वर भर आइए भरे हम ये पवित्र उड़ान। मधुर स्वर को भर आइए भरे हम ये पवित्र उड़ान। ऐसा कुछ आया।
Thank you so much. It was an entire lecture put in so sweet poem. That's the beauty of writing poems. You put a concept of 2 hours into a small, beautiful poem. So that's the beauty of writing shairis or any poem for that matter. And it really feels so good that when I was doing this reading and you wrote down these words, and it's exactly what we are trying to say comes out of this beautiful poem in the end. I feel very happy for that.
प्रदीप जी, मुझे भी खुशी होती है क्योंकि एक्चुअली इस यात्रा पर एक पंख आप थे और एक पंख मैं, और पता नहीं किसकी आत्मा ने एक उड़ान भरी। धन्यवाद।
Wow.
Thank you so much.
So we are eagerly waiting for your submission of all the poems and all the writings you have written throughout this book.
श्योर प्रदीप।
शिखर जी, मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि जैसे आप YouTube लिंक भेजते हो हर लेक्चर के बाद, हम तरल जी से रिक्वेस्ट करें कि जो भी वो 4 पंक्तियां लिखे वो भी व्हाट्सएप में डाल दे हर लेक्चर के बाद।
I think that was already requested earlier, but we are still waiting for Tarun.
आ गया था, लेकिन आप सब लोगों को खुशी होगी, हालांकि ये थियोसॉफी का विषय नहीं है, लेकिन इस वक्त मैं वाकई में एक उड़ान पर हूँ, क्योंकि 18 या 20 महीने बाद मैं अपने स्टूडियो को कल वापस चालू कर पाया टेक्निकली, और आज पहली शूट है। तो आप सब लोगों से बहुत बहुत प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि आप
कांग्रेचुलेशंस एंड बेस्ट विशेस सर।
मैं भी एक इस कलात्मक अनंत यात्रा पर आगे अग्रसर हो पाऊँ।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर।
All the very best, sir.
नेक्स्ट वीक
ऑल द बेस्ट सर।
उसको कंपाइल करने की कोशिश करूँगा। थैंक यू।
Sure. We are all eagerly looking for that.
Exactly. So,
धन्यवाद।
thank you, sir. I would like to invite Chopra Reddy ji if he's here.
No, I think he left.
Okay. Is Sister Sulina here?
Yes.
He is there. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here and I'm hearing. Okay, it was really great to learn these two aspects of heart and mind. And as truly said by all of you through your versions of speech, moderations, poems, summarization by Sikharji, Vasumati and everyone. Yes, both the wings are to be in shape. And as Vasumati said, we have to be very, very observant what we are doing in our daily life to keep our both the wings in sync. Many a times we get swayed by a very intellectual thought process, and probably we lose on the compassionate side of things. And it's as a behavior it reflects. All the time we are in a state of high consciousness or higher consciousness than the surrounding, than the people around us who do not grab it easily. Probably our behavior does not reflect compassion to them, and there is a little bit of fearfulness or maybe a bit of uneasiness, be it in our family or be it in our surrounding where we go. I have experienced this, in many forums wherein, everything is going intellectual. There's a little kid who doesn't understand it. We are all, talking, in the seminars and all, but then there are kids around. Then there is a family member around who's very new to theosophical lectures or something like that. So that compassion element has to be there with intellectual discussion. There has to be love, compassion, and the very basic understanding that people who are on this path are not at the same level. So our dialoguing with them, our behavior with them should be a bit balanced. That reminded me when Pradeep ji was reading that poem, and towards the end he was suggesting, I got reminded of a very long old lecture or a presentation on law of sacrifice, when we are discussing about duties and self identifying with everybody. There we had discussed that we should judge our spirituality by our effect on the world, and be very, very careful that the world may grow purer, better, and happier, because we are also living in that world. So in that, we were two, 3 points we were reading there. When a person comes within our circle, let us be careful that whenever he leaves the circle, he is a better man, because he has come in contact with us. If an ignorant man comes with to our circle and we have some knowledge, let us let us make him a better informed man when he leaves the discussion. And if there is a sorrowful man who's coming to us, let us handhold him. Let us share the strength we have in us, so that he's not feeling low, or he's not feeling humiliated by this. We know this and we have this knowledge and we are proud about it. No. So let him also go a little sorrowful from us. So it is all about mind and heart. We should not just operate from our mind. So let us be wholesome, because we are the world and we are a part of it. That's what came to me when we were reading the poem and with the daily activities. Thank you all.
Thank you, Surlin.
Thank you so much, Sister Sabrina. I would just like to ask one thing, that what if, like, we know that one of our wing is not parallelly running with the other? What should we do?
Well, when a bird is flying, if one of the wing is not fluttering in the same speed as the other, it doesn't fly in the straight line. So whichever wing is fluttering more, the body tends to turn towards that side. So when we have a pointed or a target, so we know that which wing is not fluttering enough, based on which side we are deviating. So it's just an example. But once we know our final target, what we need to reach, and if we are deviating, we will know which is the one which is defective and which is causing this deviation. Now, how to bring back to that straight line of life, how to reduce this deviation is a continuous process. So if a bird is flying in a straight line, it doesn't mean it's automatic. It's a continuous process of keeping both the wings in balance. So to bring about an harmony between these two wings is a continuous process. It doesn't happen automatically. It should be continuously watched with our consciousness, with our presence of mind. So only when we reach this harmony between both the sides, only then we fly to the pointed or towards the target. Now, how to bring harmony? That is again uh, a wonderful subject. That is harmony between what? Harmony between our mind and heart. So mind represents our thoughts, our knowledge. Heart represents our feelings, our emotions. Now, to bring a balance between these two entities is what we all have to continuously perform, continuously do with consciousness, keep watching. As Shikharji said in his comment, that we need to start feeling from our mind and thinking from our heart. So you may now ask me, heart is to feel, mind is to think. What do you mean by feeling from mind and thinking from heart? It's opposite. Are you making a grammatical mistake here? No, it's not a mistake. Once when you bring these two entities, mind and heart, to a harmony, once we bring to a same level, and then whether we think from heart or mind, it should not matter. Or whether we feel through our mind or heart, then it should not matter, because they both are in same vibration, same plane. They both are in synchronized pattern. And the other meaning is, when we start thinking from our heart, means when we, because the emotions and feelings are the natural qualities of the heart. So it has its own natural quality. But when we apply thoughts also to that, then we will not overdo the feeling or we will not overdo the emotion. So we will apply thoughts there. And when thinking or knowledge is the common faculties of mind, so when we apply our feelings and emotions in our mind, then we will not overdo our thoughts. So to give a very good example, when you are donating something, say for example, you're driving, you're in a signal and there is a beggar who comes. So both your heart and mind works, right? When you put your hand to your purse, you take out some money. Now there are many coins, 1, 2, 5 rupees, there are 10 rupee notes, there are 100 rupees notes, right? Now, what happens when you just apply your heart, your emotion? You may take out a 2000 rupee note and then give away to the beggar. What happens if you apply only your mind? You may not even take out a single rupee and say, oh, I need this. Why should I give away? Right? A balanced thought and emotion will make you to take out at least 5 rupees or 10 rupees and give to that beggar, which is enough, or which is what the beggar is expecting. The beggar is not expecting you to give 2000 rupees from your purse. Of course, it will help him, but he is not expecting it. He begs and he feels a person gives him 5 rupees is enough, right? So when you apply your mind is again a problem. You will not give even a single rupee if you apply your mind, but because every rupee is important for you. You feel, I want this. Your knowledge says you have so many expenses this month. But if you apply only emotion, then you will give away everything without thinking what is required for you. So when you apply both mind and emotion or the heart, only then you do the right thing. I'm not saying 5 rupees is enough for the beggar. That's not my intention. What to be done? Doing the right thing. What is just? What is honest? What is true? So to do these things, which are just to be done at that time, at that place. So to do these things, a balanced approach where we use both our mind and heart in an equal proportion, only then it is possible. So that is synchronizing mind and heart. And when we reach that harmony, then we go straight to our target, and we will know where we are deviating. To know where we are deviating, to know what we are using more. Either we are using our emotions more to deal with anything. Are we using our knowledge and thoughts more to deal with anything in our life? To know that and to bring to a harmonious point is very important. So thank you, Kritika, for bringing up this wonderful point.
And thank you so much for making it so clear, like the perfect example and the perfect explanation. Thank you. It will stay here and here. So I think it is time. Thank you so much, Brother Pradeep, for such a wonderful, enlightening, and just a perfect session with perfect words, perfect examples. So at least I am very much enlightened. Thank you so much. So let us proceed towards ending the meeting and absorb the great things and the new things we have learned today. So let us sit in meditation. Om Sarve Ve Sukhine Santu Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasyit Dukha Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. And
thank you, Kritika. Thank you so much for moderating this session. It's wonderful that starting from your first day of lecture till now, you have grown up so much. Your confidence has built up so much. I'm really looking forward for your session next week.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
सही कहा प्रदीप जी आपने कि कृतिका ने बहुत अच्छी उड़ान भरी है और मुझे भी इंतजार है कि ये किसी दिन बहुत अच्छी तरह से पूरा चैप्टर ले और अपनी 1 घंटे की कुछ कथा सुनाए। और प्रदीप जी बहुत अच्छा लगा आपने ये जो आखिरी में एक अच्छा सा निचोड़ दिया पूरे उसका, उससे भी 4 लाइनें बन गई, तो मैंने सोचा मैं वो भी सुना के एक समापन करूं कि आसान नहीं ये पंखों की जुगलबंदी, आसान नहीं ये पंखों की जुगलबंदी, कभी मन के पंखों से तो कभी दिल के पंखों से, बनानी होगी केवल इन 2 स्वरों से ही, इसमें छिपे 7 स्वरों से हर वक्त एक नई सरगम। मतलब कि मुझे ऐसा लगा कि ये 2 पंख जो हैं इसके अंदर ये 2 स्वर हैं, लेकिन ये ऐसे जादुई 2 स्वर हैं कि इसी 2 स्वर से एक 7 स्वरों की सरगम बन सकती है जो हमें इस यात्रा पर ले जाए। ऐसा कुछ एक विचार आया तो मैंने कहा शेयर कर। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू।
सर बस अब आपके पूरे इस निचोड़ का इंतजार है कि कब आप डालें, कब हम प्रिंट निकालें।
धन्यवाद।
So happy Sunday to everybody and bye-bye.
Thank you, Shikha ji.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you, Shikha.